Line inquiries, SCG. Spider cam, spider cam.
Goes wherever a spider cam can. Doll says, what's with the swirly hand thingy while pointing at your face at the start of polite inquiries? What is that? It's mysterious and Mona Lisa-like. Darren says,
Does that?
is Jared Kimber on polite inquiries the same as Spider-Cam? Seems to obstruct Melinda Farrell, Eddie Cowan, Sid Monga, etc. You're exactly like Spider-Cam.
Well, I'm not operated by wires to begin with. I mean, it was one of the more amazing things that's happened in cricket because of Channel 9's commentary that followed it up. Where they, at one stage you go, oh, maybe it was a spider cam, maybe it was a wires, and suddenly it was, no, it must have been the sun. No, was it the sun? No, he lost his bearings, maybe he got dizzy. Incredible. And then we saw the future of cricket when Cricket Australia and Channel 9 released a joint press release that just said, we.
It was weird. The funny thing was, it reminded me of Steve Smith at the Gabba. Spider-Cam did this big twirl around the ground and sort of twirl around the ground, and then went behind the bowler's arm just as he was running in. And I remember Steve Smith backing out of the shot and looking really annoyed. So he's got bad Spider-Cam mojo.
We all do, really. I've seen it also, Champions League. Gab Jossie told me that it's happened there before, and I've seen it in the IPL. It put off a lot of batsmen before. Look, it's a menace and it should be killed.
No, what about, the best bit was that it actually went to the naughty corner, which is like cow corner but on the offside. It literally...
Go to your room, Spider-Cam!
It went and it sat there and it looked guilty. I don't know how an inanimate object can look guilty, but it did look guilty. Siddharth says...
Sids.
Rahane and rough LBWs, a better love story than Twilight. That was, I thought it was high.
I thought you were going to talk about Twilight. I think there is a moment though when a batsman is trying to play a ball that is supposed to be short, and it does keep a little bit lower. Sometimes you feel like it's gone a lot lower than it has. So yes, it was a bad decision, but look, they happen. And Rahane, he's got that sort of doe-eyed face. It looks like he's always going to be exploited by other people.
He should work on his body language, maybe.
Or his bearings.
His bearings. His body language and his bearings. Linear Spline says...
Spiny.
50s for Watson, Marsh and Rohit. Have these great talents finally figured it out, or is the pitch just that flat? Well...
It's flat.
It's flat.
It's flat, and the Australian 50s are also against, you know, a fairly flat bowling attack as well.
That didn't help.
Australia didn't field particularly well, which also helped India. I thought Rohit showed really good signs. He was the one I was probably the most keen on out of all of them. I mean, this test is not really answering any questions, it's just existing.
Well, it is, but also it hasn't felt like a great contest or even contest between bat and ball this match at all. It's definitely been a batsman's game.
So with that in mind, Shane Watson's wickets are actually worth 12.
Jeeta says,
Jeez.
Featherbeds, dropped catches galore, important runs. Should Oz bowlers demand pay hikes or better work conditions? Fair point.
Well, I mean, the pitches is a really good point. I mean, you know, these pitches have not been good enough in this series. They've been too favoured towards the batting. We haven't seen enough exciting cricket, I think, because of that. I think Kohli and Smith could be even better if they were played on slightly juicier pitches, so that is a problem.
Drop catches were pretty bad today from Australia, though.
They were, and I don't want to take the mickey out of our good, close personal friend, Akash Chopra, but he did point out that Australia has dropped more catches than India, and I pointed out that perhaps it's because the Indian bowlers haven't created almost any chances.
Oh.
But the Australian fielding, especially their catching, has not been good enough. And I think, in general, the bowlers should get paid more than the batsmen, just in general lines.
Well, particularly the Australian bowlers, because they often do provide the bulk of the runs, or they have in the past 18 months. But it's also...
But all bowlers.
Just in general. But Steve Smith, it's not very often you see him drop 2 catches. He's one of the best fielders in the Australian side. He's one of the best fielders in the world.
Well, one of them have an asterisk and just a picture of a spider cam next
to it. The wire. It was the wire's fault. Elliot says, have Australia missed a trick by not playing the second spinner?
I think both teams probably would maybe look at the pitch right now would say they should have had an extra spinner. Australia looked at the pitch beforehand and they didn't think that. But India also don't have a second spinner, so It's not like Australia's the only team in that boat. I don't know if Aston A would have been any different. They didn't think Steve O'Keefe was fit enough, and India's second spin options are probably not that strong either. So, yes, but no.
Kunal says,
Kunas?
have India found the solution to their overseas opening problems in Vijay and Rahul?
It's a bit early.
Early.
And making runs on that wicket, as good as his innings was, and his innings was really good. I really liked the way he went about it, even if he was assisted by Spider-Cam, even if he should have been run out when he was face first in the turf. It's too early.
It is, but also, well, for him, surely it must be a bit of a confidence boost as well, especially after Melbourne. I mean,
even if you take Melbourne out of it, but Melbourne was so bad for him. But even if you take that out of it, God, he batted in 2 different positions in Melbourne, which he, you know, people didn't even give him enough credit for that. But forget about that for a minute. He's in his second test in his life. He's in Australia, and he's made a test 100. He's got to be happy with that.
And also,
he made a test 100 against Ryan Harris. Sexy Ryan Harris.
Sexy Ryan Harris. It's certainly good, I think, for India to be able to try and settle. They've got this kind of team that especially now with Dhoni gone, they've got to resettle a few different things and work it out. So
in the short term, it's really good that he's made runs. In the long term, we have no idea.
Old Cricket asks,
Alti, Nishant, Joshi.
Why are we seeing so many dropped catches from both sides? Well, I think partly, again, you know, these sides have been spending a long time in the field and it's hot, and so maybe lapse in concentration, especially the slips catches maybe.
I blame Spider-Cam.
And Spider-Cam.
Well, I mean, I think India's problem has been that their fielders have been moving around the slips. And they've dropped a couple of catches. I don't think they have any specialist slips, which I wrote in a long piece I'm not going to go back into, but I think that might be India's problem. Australia's problem, I don't know.
I think it was just an off day.
Yeah, I don't think they've been very good all series, though, to be fair.
Yeah.
But, you know, I don't know. It's a really good question, though.
It is, it's way too good for us. S. Kartik says,
Carters?
who is the better spinner in Oz conditions? Monotonous but lion-hearted Lion, or subtle but easygoing Ashwin? I have actually really enjoyed watching them both. I really like Ashwin, and I think all along he should have been played in the first test in Adelaide. I think
everyone in the world.
Everyone in the world thinks that, and I don't understand why they don't trust Ashwin and don't go with him more often. Lion, and it was a funny thing, they're both bowlers who are really undervalued, it seems.
Yeah.
Like Lion has...
Especially often by their fans.
Yes.
Like, I saw a lot of people ripping into Ashwin over the last couple of days, but I mean, without him, I think Australia literally would have scored 1 million runs, literally. And so I think Lion is probably a slightly better bowler in Australia just because he gets a little bit more overspin.
Yeah.
But I mean, at the moment they're 2 very good bowlers, and Lion's probably in slightly better form. I'd love to see Ashwin play Test cricket for the next 2 or 3 years and be given a real chance. I think at the moment he comes in, he comes out. I mean, he dropped the catch and slips. The next thing you know, he was bowling 100 overs and he was at deep mid-wicket and deep point. You know. A little bit of special treatment, it's not too bad.
Aditi asks,
Deets! Go.
what does rooting mean in Oz?
Means foraging for berries.
Yes, it does mean foraging for berries. Scott asks, what distracts you most while recording polite inquiries? That bloke over there who was just having a leak.
In your hat, it's been a bit annoying this time.
Yeah. Dr. Ripper says,
Rips?
how and when did polite inquiries, all lowercase, become polite inquiries with a capital P and a capital E?
When people kept thinking it was politeen queries.
Politeen queries, or polite inquires. Don't forget the third I. Harsha says, hi Kimber, hi Mel, just a polite inquiry. How are you both doing?
See you tomorrow.